Hey, Yoni, let's see if they're making this thing work. Hello, everyone. Let's just wait for Yoni to grab this mic. I think I hmm, made this trickier than it had to be.
Hi.
Hey there, Yoni. How are you? I think I might have messed you up by starting this thing. I just clicked start, and then there it was.
It's my first speaker attendance in Spaces, so I'm happy it works.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the incredible work you and eToro are doing with GoodDollar, which I can't wait for people to hear more about. But you are one of the kind of OG voices for blockchain as being an anti-poverty infrastructure. Um, Go ahead and share a little bit about your background with the people who are here today, because you've had a fascinating arc.
Thank you, Andrew. So we started eToro, which today is the largest social investment network with 27 million registered users, back in 2007. And then 2008 global financial crisis started, and we've witnessed something very interesting that I didn't expect as a fintech entrepreneur. We saw the entire financial systems sort of freeze. You couldn't buy and sell anything. The banks weren't really operating. You didn't know what was going to happen the next day. And it led me to start thinking about the fact that we need a 24/7 open for everyone system. And that's where I started writing about the good dollar back in 2008, about a transparent financial system that has a better distribution of wealth system embedded into it. Later on, during first crypto rally, which was a couple of years later in 2017, we were involved due to our involvement in creation of Colored Coins protocol that was tokenizing assets based on the Bitcoin protocol in sort of the early stages and genesis of Ethereum as well, in the concept of tokenization on top of the blockchain. And we decided at eToro to start sponsoring a social impact project of the Good Dollar, which basically is universal basic income on the blockchain. What we wanted is a system where every person around the world can access a decentralized system, open a wallet, and every day claim good dollars, can basically experience how to use digital currency, which we obviously believe is the future of most assets in the world, will become digital. So people need to experience it, and through that experience, basically be included in this new financial system.
Well, that's incredible. And you actually jumped a decade or so. You talked about 2007, then all of a sudden 2017. I feel like you might have been a little bit ahead of your time. Like what was that period like?
I think that that period, I remember when we first. So, but my brother sent me some article about Bitcoin in 2010 because he remembered me going on the fact that we need an internet currency that's operating 24/7. And I remember the first time I started using Bitcoin, and then we started buying Bitcoin for eToro at $5 and $10. I looked at the technology and that really amazing, beautiful computer science architecture of decentralization, and how everything works 24/7. And a lot of times when I explain to people about Bitcoin, I say my aha moment is every person can basically open an account around the world, be his own custodian of assets, and own a real digital financial asset on his own without an intermediary, and being able to send and receive that 24/7. That for me, after 4 years of building eToro within the financial services system, was an aha moment of this is the perfect design of how finance in general should work: open for everyone, inclusive, and based on technology, without people needing to operate it. And the only two comparable sort of huge inventions that I thought were influential were capital markets in general, where I believe that capital markets really accelerate the path of entrepreneurs and accelerate the economy in general. And then obviously the internet, which, as an entrepreneur from Israel, when I started using the internet and suddenly had access to everybody around the world, this was in BBS's back in 95, 96, was the aha moment of how beautiful it is that we can all connect in what some people might call today the metaverse, but can all connect with one another. And then when we looked at Bitcoin, we saw the opportunity of building on top of that something more. But I also remember that we were buying Bitcoin, and the resistance that we've seen from the outer community about what is Bitcoin and why is this needed, and the risks of Bitcoin and later after that crypto. And you had to continuously push forward and say this is an inevitable future where you need that scarce commodity of gold operating in the world to be the basis of a digital economy. And I think, like in any sort of, the markets are always bubbles and bursts. So the good dollar for us is a very long-term project. It's a project, but it's also an experiment of how we can hack value into a token, into a cryptocurrency. How can people understand the value that if this works, it creates a better community in general, a better society, because it's more equal in the opportunities. And when we saw the first in 2017, really what was happening in the ICO space, we said this is amazing because so many people around the world are looking at just concepts and ideas and dreams and are able to suddenly raise funds into those ideas from people from all around the world using smart contracts. And that accelerated our path to say, okay, we've built a company. eToro was back then already generating hundreds of dollars of revenues a year. We felt that the company, is here to stay for a long period of time, and it's time to give back, and it's time to build something that's not for economical profit, but just for the profit of society, as a project.
Yeah, it's one reason I was so excited to meet you, Yoni, is that you are clearly motivated by the common good. You're a global thinker and actor. So you spent a number of years building eToro in the traditional financial system. Uh, I I think that this is something that maybe people at the space are already, you know, understand deeply. But what were the biggest limitations? Like, what's wrong with the current traditional financial system in terms of being able to reach people and fulfill their needs? I mean, there are some people who are like, why do I need, Bitcoin or new digital currencies? I can just send fiat back and forth within the traditional system. Like, where does the current system fall short?
So it's very interesting because sometimes people, in the developed world, forget that the vast majority of humanity lives in developing countries or lives under totalitarian regimes, dictatorships, unhealthy economies. And what we unfortunately found out when we started eToro, if you'd ask me, where do you operate around the world? I would just say, we're a global citizen, and we operate everywhere around the world. And as the companies scaled, we found out that the places where we find it hardest to operate and offer financial innovation, offer what if eToro does, which is help people invest in capital markets and crypto markets and become successful investors, are the places where financial innovation is needed the most. So regulation basically limited us gradually from a lot of the third world countries, whether it was from Venezuela or from countries in Africa. Because what happens in financial regulation is when a country gets into a sort of disarray of the financial services system, where regulators and the traditional financial services system can't feel that they can operate there safely, they block that country, and they block financial companies like eToro and fintech companies in general, but financial services in general, to be able to operate in those countries. And that's really, for me, what led me to the full realization of the importance of decentralized assets, of the digital economy, is that we have 1.9 billion people who are unbanked. We have 3 to 4 billion people who are probably in regimes where fiat currency, where money, we assume money is a safe thing that's in the bank, but for the majority of the world, money means something you don't necessarily trust. You don't necessarily trust the financial system. You don't have good financial rails. And even the fiat currency that you're using is, by definition, going to be worthless in the next 10, 20, maximum 30 years. 30 years is the average duration of a fiat currency. So, in a lot of countries, you should expect inflation to reach 95%. So, the devalue of your fiat currency to basically almost disappear in value within 10 or 20 years.
Wow, that's awfully dramatic. I mean, it is true that most of us have a lens where if you live in a developed country, you don't think about your currency as being that insecure. Certainly not the USD, though many people believe that now even the dollar is being subject to various inflationary pressures and otherwise. So eToro had been operating for quite some time, and then you decided to make a significant investment in GoodDollar relatively recently. Can you talk about eToro's process and what your first steps were?
Well, we started building the team. We've already invested over $5 million in the development of the GoodDollar protocol and the Good DAO. And we recently also have staked funds, but now I'll start explaining what the GoodDollar is and how it operates. Into the GoodDollar protocol, we've staked $1 million. We've bought GoodDollars at eToro to distribute them to the referral system. So, what did we build in the last 2, 3 years? And it's really exciting to see more and more people suddenly looking at the opportunity of universal basic income on the blockchain. We've built a set of smart contracts where every person, there's an app. So people with Android, you can actually download the app. People can go to www.gooddollar.org. It's completely free, completely non-profit social impact project where people can, in a very easy way, we connected it to social, to basically a social login. So with your Google account or your Facebook account, you can open a Web3 wallet, and the minute you open the Web3 wallet, you can start claiming everyday GoodDollars. So when you click claim, you basically get something in the area of 30 to 50 GoodDollars directly into your Web3 wallet. You can actually take those GoodDollars and move them into your MetaMask if you want. So again, this is your funds. You're the custodians of these GoodDollars. And we created an ecosystem, because one of the big challenges when you talk about UBI is who is going to finance UBI. And in a lot of cases, people think that the sort of default financier of UBI needs to be governments. We actually think it needs to be people, people and maybe companies. And the theory behind what we've built in the smart contracts, the way they work, is you have a reserve of both DAI, which is the equivalent of dollar in a decentralized way, or ETH in the smart contract. And when people buy GoodDollars, they basically add into that reserve like an automated market maker that people are probably familiar with in the crypto space, and people can actually stake. So that's what eToro did. We staked $1 million. We put our $1 million into the smart contract. The smart contract automatically goes into protocols that generate yield, like Aave, Compound, and others. And that yield, that interest rate, instead of going to us, to eToro, we basically waive our, our interest rate into the reserve. So every time our $1 million receive interest rate, it goes into the reserve, which then increases the value of GoodDollars to all of the people who are claiming GoodDollars. So people who claim GoodDollars, there's today about 430,000 people who already open the wallet. There's about 75,000 people that every day claim GoodDollars. We'll talk soon about where around the world. We're distributing in a month. So just the month of February, we distributed about $8,600 in dollar value. So we distributed GoodDollars that are worth more than $8,000 to people. And when people claim GoodDollars, they can either use those GoodDollars for commerce, so they can try and buy goods and services offered in GoodDollars, and we'll talk about examples of how people are hacking value through providing goods and services in GoodDollars. Or they can actually convert it back into ETH or back into DAI. And once they do that, of course, in the decentralized world, they can convert it into any type of crypto asset and potentially then to local cash. So we've created a system where, and again, this is the theory, and we have a lot of math behind it, an economic framework. If you would have somebody like, Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, we put in $1 million, that those $1 million generated $10,000 a month almost for distribution. The more scalable that system is, potentially it can generate tens of millions of dollars or even hundreds of millions of dollars to people through this UBI mechanism, which is completely government detached. So the more people who come into the system and either believe in the future of the GoodDollar and buy it, so add to the reserve, or are willing to yield their yield and stake assets into the reserve, they all increase the value of the GoodDollar for everyone. Therefore, they're increasing the economic value of GoodDollar for everyone. So we've built a decentralized system that enables UBI on a scale that we believe could be in the scales of hundreds of millions, and hopefully one day a billion people that can use that UBI.
Oh, it's an incredible vision, and it's awesome that eToro has put the initial stake down purely for philanthropic reasons. So I think that what people are hearing this right now are thinking, hey, $9,000, $10,000 a month, that's great, but then distributed among 75,000 people, that's not very much money. So where are the users, and how are they actually making use of GoodDollar and the value?
So I'll give you a couple of examples, but then I think we need to remember that there are, if I remember correctly, about 2 billion people a day who live under $2 a day. So we need to remember that people in a lot of countries and a mass amount of people around the world really live under poverty lines. I'll just give a couple of examples of things that we've seen, which I think are amazing. We've seen people, a group in Nigeria who have done bounty tasks. So they collected GoodDollars. So people, they collected, both claimed GoodDollars, but also then went into the Telegram group and our Twitter and told people, we want to pay for our education, for our high education with GoodDollars. And they were able to basically raise funds in GoodDollars and then convert that into their university bills. And that's in Nigeria. We have in Zimbabwe an entrepreneur that, with a company called Bitflex, setting up women to run cash out stations and looking to run local GoodDollar stores, basically. Now we have a great in Israel, which again, which actually is enabling people to buy with good dollars fruits and vegetables. So even in developed countries, there are still people who are hungry. By the way, I'm always amazed to see how even in developed countries, there are still people who are really in need for the basic food and are still hungry in developed countries. And we created an ecosystem and are now supporting it more in Israel for food kitchens to accept good dollars, enable through good dollars basically the consumption of vegetables to the poor, and also workshops on how to use it. In Venezuela, we've had a teacher who incentivized students. He gave them good dollars, he claimed good dollars, raised good dollars to basically incentivize his students to learn about digital assets. We have a Vietnamese father who got his whole family signed and got rewards for his kids for good behavior. We have Ghana entrepreneurs who are actually creating basically a bridge between good dollars and mobile minutes. I'm not sure how much everybody's familiar on the importance of mobile minutes. So in Africa and a lot of countries, mobile minutes is like cash, because what you really need is the ability to connect to the internet and to connect into your mobile phone. So we're creating basically an off ramp between good dollar and mobile numbers and mobile minutes. And I can go on and on with his stories, but the bigger story is really it's about the people being able to create value into a token. So what we talked about before is enabling philanthropy, enabling crypto affluent people, mass affluent people, to be able to waive their interest rate, to simply say, I'm fine without getting interest rate. I'm willing to, instead of putting my money in the bank, I'll stake it within the good dollar contract. On the other side, really, to create value, it's all about goods and services. The more people are creative and they say, I can use this token, I know this token is now used by 300,000 people. So if I want to access this community of 300,000 people, I can potentially offer goods and services, either from just a philanthropic point of view or even from the point of view of accessing this target audience, which hopefully will just grow and grow. Then by providing goods and services for good dollars, that's a way to increase the value of good dollars. So, in a holy grail scenario, if Apple said for every person in the world who want to consume, basically services from Apple, they could pay up to $50 or $100 a year in good dollars, where one good dollar is equal to $1, then Apple becomes basically the creator of value within the good dollar ecosystem. So again, the concept of currency and what is the value of currency comes truly from the volume and the usage of the currency. So the more people who start claiming good dollars, who look at the good dollar economy and start using it and figuring out how do we hack the ecosystem so we can use it more, they each contribute into the value of the entire good dollar economy.
Yoni, I both love and am daunted by just how global the um, good dollar is. Where, like, one point of view that someone might have, like, I'm going to throw this out, would be to say, hey, let's take an identified group in a particular area and then concentrate on having adoption go up among this village, let's say. Now, you've done something very, very enormous where you've said, look, let's just put it out and anyone can make use of it. And you have creative teachers in different countries doing things, you have creative entrepreneurs doing different things. I feel like the global nature of Good Dollar is both a virtue and like an impediment. I don't know if you share that or if you had thought at all about something more localized. I mean, I love the vision because you can see the steps that you could build a genuinely uh, thriving in global UBI quite quickly if you had like some major value providers. But did you
Sure.
consider something that was different in scale than global?
So I'll tell you that there's a community project right now that's being run, which addresses exactly that. And that's the nice thing about, decentralized projects. You can have the community basically adding features into the project. And what this local community from Ukraine, so of course, I believe everybody's familiar with a very unfortunate situation escalating right now in the Ukraine, came to a conclusion that there might be people that would want to specifically have a higher level of UBI to people with a Ukraine phone number, so people from the Ukraine. So they're building a pool of UBI, so people can basically invest, donate, stake into that pool of UBI, which adds another parameter, which is your mobile phone needs to be a Ukraine mobile phone. So we're using, so the way, one of the problems of UBI is, especially on the blockchain and pseudo anonymous, is how do you prevent people to just open multiple accounts? What we've done is we've used face verification, so that face verification creates a hash, and that hash is one-to-one connected to your blockchain address. So no, so you can't create another GoodDollar wallet. And then that group said, okay, let's add a Ukraine mobile phone number. And then if people want to say, hey, we want not to donate to the just global UBI ecosystem, we want to specifically donate or stake or uh, participate only in increasing the UBI of people with a Ukraine phone number, then the system basically enables that. So if you'll get 30 to 50 GoodDollars if you're everywhere around the world, and somebody then stakes and donates or donates into the Ukraine UBI, then suddenly you can get 200 or 300 GoodDollars if you do that. So that's a way to create basically pooled UBIs. So any community can decide, let's create a pool of UBI that's now specific to our community. Let's figure out what is, in terms of crypto, I would call it an oracle, but what is that parameter in which we say this is a person of this village or that minority, and that's who we want to support, and let's promote people on donating or staking towards that local community, which could be a very small community. It could be a school somewhere in Africa. It could be a country like the Ukraine and every person who has a mobile phone. It's all about, can you have a centralized validator that people who invest in that specific pool saying, here's the pool, I'm validating people who are joining that pool, and therefore creating these local communities. So the GoodDollar structure is not only one global UBI, it's one global UBI for people who are using, creating value for the GoodDollar, but for people who want to contribute to local communities, they can actually do that by basically creating a pool that's specific based on a validation of that pool.
Wow, this is very real. As we speak, there are proposals towards funding a UBI for Ukrainian refugees, possibly funded by seized Russian assets. And if you think about how that would actually be monitored and distributed, it's not going to be easy, given that, if you're Ukrainian, like, what's your bank account? What's your setup? What's this? So it could be that a system like GoodDollar would actually be a massive value add in helping get that value to what looks like, unfortunately, um, over a million refugees.
We do believe first that necessity is the mother of invention, and unfortunately, this is very unfortunate circumstances. The team, I know that there are a lot of team members in the GoodDollar in the Ukraine, which sort of connects obviously the GoodDollar distributed team to that specific mission. They'd love to connect to anyone who wants to help refugees I think, by the way, that people outside, the Ukraine, for refugees, if they identify someone who collected good dollars and is Ukrainian, I think it would be, to see that as a movement of people willing to say, €1 is $1 good, $1 is $1 good, because I know you're a refugee and you collected good dollars, because that's the only way you could have survived as a refugee. I think that's an amazing movement. Again, these are all very big, hairy, audacious goals and thinking, but sometimes that's how you experiment and build something from nothing. And I do think that what we are seeing, the fact that the Ukraine government, published an Ethereum and Bitcoin address, and then you had all of the other blockchains go to the Ukrainian government and say, hey, add my blockchain address as well. I think we saw Polkadot doing that and some others, and then donating in their own currency into the Ukraine. And if I'm not mistaken, over $50 million in crypto was already donated into the Ukraine. That's mind blowing how suddenly crypto is really helping people in need. But again, in my view, it's helping the people, which is bigger than potentially helping government. It's enabling real people who have, uh, an issue of where their bank account, where their funds are, how do they transfer their funds, to be able to collect, to claim money without risk, without the need of bringing in money. And then on the other side, if somebody comes to you and he comes to your store and he says, I'm a refugee, I'm claiming good dollars, and here's the good dollars, this is what I can pay for to buy food. I think being able to create that movement is maybe maybe a bit euphoric, but I think that's the point, because money is what we people make money.
Yeah, you might have described it as utopian. Euphoric is very
Utopia.
happy,
Yeah. Sorry,
which this is
I
as well.
apologize. It's my Israeli. I apologize.
No, no, I mean, we all know where you're coming from for sure. So I'm going to take questions after we go through what you think of as like the next big steps for Good Dollar. What are you seeing? Like, what do you imagine comes next? And then we'll talk a little bit about my new initiative, Lobby Three, which I believe you're going to be a part of. So first, what is next for Good Dollar? And I have to say, Yoni, I owe you a debt on a number of levels. But one is that I came out relatively recently and said, hey, I am eager to eradicate poverty, and I believe Web3 can help. And there were a lot of people that found that connection mystifying, where they didn't see the blockchain or cryptocurrencies as anti-poverty tools, which I know to be the case, and I owe you a debt because you're someone who's actually putting that into practice. So what is next for Good Dollar?
So first of all, I have to say, when we started Good Dollar, this is really about anti-poverty. It's about financial inclusion. It's about first financial education. So we created a system where every person around the world can claim good dollars, can use good dollars, which basically means every person can experience digital assets. And we solved some problems there with how do you enable people to claim an ERC20 token without paying gas, without the needing to understand what gas is, how can they transfer and receive it. So I think really it's first financial education, then financial inclusion, and then really the big, hairy, audacious goal is helping financial equality, improving financial equality through UBI. For us, what's really next is scale up. We've built the system, we've transformed it into a DAO. There's a corporate governance now voting for features. There's 420,000 wallets, 50 to 70,000 people a day claiming good dollars. We need the community. We need more people to use good dollars and find ways to hack value into the system. The more people who provide goods and services, the more people who figure out how to use the good dollar. Of course, more people who stake assets into the good dollar smart contracts, but even look at the smart contracts, audits them. People who buy good dollars. When you buy good dollars, you increase the value of good dollars for every single person who claims good dollars every day from Vietnam, Indonesia, Venezuela, India, which is our top four countries. So if you buy good dollars right now, you increase the value of good dollars for the 300,000 plus people who actually have good dollars in the wallet. So I would say it's really about scaling up value, which is about people being creative, people connecting, through the metaverse with people from developed countries to developing countries. I do believe we are seeing what I believe is the by far the largest generational transformation of wealth, but also a geographical one of creating more equality around the world. And it's about people who do have the wealth, whether in crypto or in fiat, to think about how can they help make this happen, even if this is version 2 and there's version 3 and version 4, which will be community driven. It's about participation and scaling up the community and usage and value of good dollar.
Oh, I love it, and I'm 100% aligned with the fact that we need to be solving more problems for more people using Web3. And I see you as a leader in helping hopefully spur additional investment in this direction. So you and I have recently connected on Lobby 3, which I think most people here know is an initiative to make the case for Web3 as an anti-poverty tool in the United States of America, and hopefully uh, balance the perspective that lawmakers and policymakers might have in terms of upcoming regulations. Uh, Now, you're a global actor. eToro is here in the US as well. What's your perspective on how the US regulatory approach actually affects the ecosystem, either here or even worldwide?
So I think there's no doubt that in capital markets, the US is the global leader of capital markets, and of the importance of sort of the right regulatory framework to enable free markets to operate. And what is very well known in the US, I'll just pivot for a second for something, is capital markets work. I think a lot of people in the US automatically assume one, the money system works, second, capital markets work, which means if I invest in equities, in stocks for a long period of time, it's a good investment and you can make money in the markets by investing them. And in most countries around the world, that is not the paradigm, because most local capital markets around the world are just too small to succeed in that cycle, that vicious cycle of fiat money going into zero within 30 years destroys most local capital markets. I think the US by far is the North Star of global capital markets. And from that point of view, policy in the US in general towards crypto, I believe, and towards Web3 is critical, because countries around the world look at US policy and say that is the right policy to promote freedom, and which I believe is really the essence of Web3 and crypto. It's about economical freedom. Now, in Web3, our view is most assets in the world will eventually get tokenized. So most assets in the world, we're going through a transition now where we have $1.5 trillion of crypto assets, or tokenized assets. I think that's going to shift towards 150 to $200 trillion over the next 10 years. It's going to include
Wow.
debt.
Really? Wow.
I think eventually, again, technology, what I've learned, and I started trading the markets when I was 14, and I sort of got caught up in the dot-com era, is the future is inevitable. You might not be able to pick the right winner in that future, but the future is inevitable, and the future of assets is inevitably digital. And that future of assets being inevitably digital means most assets will become blockchain assets, 24/7 listed assets, whether it's an NFTs, it's art, or whether it's central bank digital currencies, right? So I'm not saying it's $200 trillion of Bitcoin. It's 150 to $200 trillion of US digital dollar and European and digital euro and digital pound and digital debt of companies and digital debt of countries, and probably most of the art in the world through NFTs. So when we're looking at that transition, and sometime, I need to put a disclaimer, I'm an entrepreneur, so by definition I'm an optimist regarding timing. So maybe it's not 10 years, maybe it's 15 years or 20 years. That process of the digital transformation of wealth is very much connected to the fact that your browser is going to become a Web3 browser. So when you interact with apps online, 10 years from today, it's going to be connected to a wallet. And that wallet is going to have a variety of assets, of values, right? So sometimes financial assets sounds too serious, but it's a set of values that you've earned. You've earned it as a kid, maybe playing games. You've earned it through different dialogues and narratives, but you've earned different digital assets in your wallet. And when you interact with people, you interact not only through verbal communication or watching things, you constantly also interact with your wallet. So we're looking at a future where the internet and the internet of value converge, and that requires for policymakers to understand how important it is to unleash that innovation forward. And I can tell you, by the way, that the reason when we looked at Lobby 3, I immediately pinged you and said this is extremely important, is the old paradigm is financial assets, is how people invest their money, and it should be very well protected and guarded. But when you think about values, right? I collect my values online. I use my values online, which is more similar to some extent to communication. It's very important to keep the freedom of communication open. And when we built GoodDollar, one of the things that constantly sort of caused delays was the complexity. Even though this is purely a non-profit organization, it's purely something for social impact and for good. There's no, profit thinking in any way. How hard it was to find the right structure to set it up. How hard it is today for DAOs to figure out how do we take a DAO and incorporate it so it has an entity somewhere, so I'm protected as a person, so I don't feel that, so the people behind the DAO are not directly liable, especially if they're doing something just for the benefit of humanity. In that process, I would say we'd spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees and on figuring out what is the right way to structure something that's purely nonprofit. And because of that, it's super important, not only for the nonprofit, but for the right policy to emerge to enable innovation that eventually advances humanity.
Uh, Amen. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell people that minting is now open. Go to lobby3.io and you can join Lobby 3 DAO. It's a thriving community of people who want to make a positive case for these technologies as a way to improve people's lives. But you're right, Yoni. I mean, this stuff, it requires resources, it requires an investment, and regulation is part of that. I have friends who are innovating in this space who are really kind of butting up against the limits of current regs, and that's not going to help accelerate the innovations that we need in order to get buying power into people's hands and meaningfully alleviate poverty. And I see that uh, we're not that far away. You know, it's like we're only at like a few big pieces away from being able to really change things for the better, and do so in a way that crosses borders and boundaries, the way you have with GoodDollar. Really excited about working together on GoodDollar and Lobby 3. But there are some people who've been very patient in wanting to ask some questions. So I'm going to see if I can't knight people in true Twitter Spaces fashion. I've been on the receiving end of this. So go ahead and make a request and raise your hand if you'd like to ask Yoni or me a question. I'm going to lead off with Scott Santons because I know that no one knows more about UBI than Scott. So, Scott, I'm going to invite you to speak, and then I'll identify the next questioner.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, Scott.
I see he's still a listener.
I invited him to speak, so let's see if this thing, or maybe I didn't. Who knows? I see other questions. Who was requesting? Let's see what I got. If that's not my thing. Requests to. Who do I got? Nacho breed type ETH. Let me see if I can't invite you up, my friend. And he's connecting. Very exciting. Nacho, I think your mic is muted.
Oh, hello. Thank you for giving me the space. I don't know if you can guys listen to me.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I came from the Proof of Humanity community. I'm building a marketplace there for this ecosystem and these people. I don't know if you guys are aware that it's also a universal basic income project. We have a civil resistant list of humans operating on the Ethereum blockchain, and it gives you 1 UBI per second as soon as you get registered in this list. And my question was if it's possible for GoodDollar and Proof of Humanity like work together. I don't know if GoodDollar has a mechanism for attesting for duplicates, something like that.
Sure. So first of all, we've been talking to both circles and to some extent Proof of Humanity to figure out. I do think, by the way, it's amazing to see that there are more projects around UBI on the blockchain. I do think, unlike the crypto token economy, which sort of forked and everybody has their own forts, right? So you have Bitcoin maximalists, you have Ethereum fans, you have for every blockchain sort of their own community, and they're protecting that community. I do think that in UBI, it's really about all of us collaborating. We would love to figure out the right way, the right path to connect the different protocols together so we could build something bigger for everyone. So this is definitely an invite that we'd love to figure out a way to work for a Proof of Humanity. We are interested and we've read your identity solution, also looked into the circles one. Right now, as I mentioned, we're using a more centralized approach to identity of a hash of face recognition. But in my view, again, as all of these projects, if we'd find the way to converge, we'd build, by definition, something bigger. I think it's all about the network effect and economy of scale. And the more the UBI on the blockchain projects work together, we can make this something that really moves the needle for humanity.
Love this. Thank you, Nacho, and it's important to know that there are a number of UBI blockchain projects. GoodDollar, Proof of Humanity circles, I think, are three of the best known, but there are others. Mana, and they've been collected online in a particular place. I think it's something. It's like cryptoubi.org, or there's a web page along those lines. But GoodDollar and Proof of Humanity are among the very, very best. And the fact that they're there to try to work together really speaks volumes about the motivations of the people involved and the vision. Like everyone just wants to solve this problem. Poverty has struck me as a very solvable problem for quite some time, and I dare say that there are a bunch of people here that may be among the people that help eradicate poverty in the literally, months to come, not even years. Next up, we have the Corona Reset. I'm going to add you as speaker. Your mic is muted, but I think you can speak.
Oh, is that me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's you.
Sorry,
There you go.
I think it cut out for a second. Andrew, I met you on my birthday last year at your Forward launch in DC, and I came up and spoke to you for a moment. You'll probably remember signing the book to Yin, and we kind of had a little joke about it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yin
hi,
yang.
hi,
I remember. I
hi.
never would have recognized you based on your
No,
avatar.
that's
So
okay. Well,
definitely, yeah.
I'm an artist, and I'm trying to come up with a concept for, and the question will kind of come after I tell you what I'm trying to do is I'm kind of building a team of artists to create NFTs, to kind of create messages, viral messages for, whatever platform, it resonates with, to kind of lower the, the negative narrative that's going on. This is broad. I mean, this is a broad message because I'm trying to go above bias, above all that stuff. Is there any? I mean, granted, I'm a nobody. I'm a know nothing nobody trying to start this process, but I have a ton of passion behind it, and I'm starting to build a team of people who are also very passionate about making a significant change. So, do you have any recommendations for how a group of artists would kind of try to infiltrate the NFT space in a way that we can give back to those who need it most? And also, while at the same time kind of lifting a message, kind of sending a message of commonalities over differences, and kind of trying to find an olive branch while doing good financially for the people who need it. Does that all make sense? I don't know.
It made sense to me. Yoni, I sense you. Do you want to answer? I've got a thought, but I don't want to cut you off if you've got one.
No, go ahead, Andrew, and then I'll add my thoughts.
Oh yeah, sure thing. So congratulations on an awesome ambition, and if you have passion, it's all you need, because I think that this space is actually very, very open and creativity driven. The thing I would suggest is that you connect with a couple of the folks who I've met over the last number of days in establishing Lobby 3. Andrew Wang comes to mind, no relation, obviously. But there are a number of other genuine souls who are just looking at interesting NFT projects that are well intended. Some of the others that come to mind, aside from Andrew's like top of mind, but Oh Shiny is very altruistic. Koopa Troopa is another person who is all about people. So if you connect with folks who themselves have kind of curated these communities, that they're trying to find artists just like you, genuinely. That there aren't that many people who are trying to put their best foot forward in the space in the way that you are, and I sense that there are people around you too. So if you keep at it, I have no doubt that you're going to connect to folks who themselves them have audiences, and you'll be off and running.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm at a point in my life where I have everything I could have ever hoped for and more. And it's kind of like, let me reverse course and see what I can do. I appreciate the space.
You're gonna do a lot. I can sense it. Yoni?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add, it's potentially very simple to add into any NFT project that a part of your royalties, right, or a part of your mint as well, right? So you sell an NFT, you say a part of the sales, a part of the royalties goes for good. We call that hashtag NFT for good. If you're looking for something that's purely a DAO, we're very happy at the GoodDollar. If you want to just transfer royalties into the GoodDollar to increase the reserve, that's by definition doing good. And then the GoodDollar community would help you raise awareness for your art. And I do believe, by the way, NFTs are an amazing sort of bridge between what was, for a while, I felt like a crazy person talking about DeFi and blockchain and smart contracts, and then suddenly with NFTs, and my friend suddenly looking at a piece of art and saying, I understand, I own this now. And some of my friends becoming sort of traders and dealers of art, of digital art. We will be very happy at the GoodDollar. We are doing some of this work with some other NFT projects. So if you want, feel free to just ping me a DM. We'll figure it out, and then if the NFT, the royalties from the NFT can contribute directly into the GoodDollar DAO, we're very happy to sort of promote that NFT within the GoodDollar community, and have eToro also help with that NFT project.
Well, that's better than I did. Yin, DM Yoni.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the advice, and I really appreciate the space.
Yeah, no, so much fun. So we're almost at the top of the hour, and Yoni has, I'm sure, a schedule to keep. But we're going to take a question from Marco. I'm going to add you as speaker.
My schedule at 11 p.m. Israel time is, by the way, quite flexible.
Oh, that's fun. You don't have an 11:30. Marco, you can speak, but your mic is muted. Take it away.
Hey, Andrew, it's such an honor. So yeah, I've been working in also UBI project, and it all started, and it was motivated by your campaign. On that time, like no one else or almost no one else was talking about UBI, and I was a very kind of supporter of UBI. And when I saw you. Always talking about, and everything made a lot of sense. So just to share that, I've been leading Impact Market. That is also a poverty alleviation protocol that uses the concept of UBI to try to fight extreme poverty in the most vulnerable communities in the world. So several refugee camps. We are in Afghanistan, Mali, Togo, Zimbabwe, Ghana, Uganda, Venezuela, more than 30 developing countries. But the approach that we are using is more through donations. So each community has its own smart contract, UBI parameters. We have several also NFT marketplaces that are donating a percentage of their sales to back these communities. We also started UBI in Ukraine. We have been speaking with GoodDollar as well to find new ways to work together. And in our case, we use a stable coin associated with the dollar because in these communities, like they look for dollars. There is a high demand, and when people are donating, they get our token in return that then gives them ownership on the project. So just would like to share that, and I think that we have also a lot to yeah, a lot to learn from Proof of Humanity and from GoodDollar, and happy to collaborate with you guys.
So Marco, I just had a call today, this week with Renee. We love what Market Impact is doing, and flattered that you got inspired about what we're doing in the GoodDollar. And as I mentioned to Proof of Humanity, I do think that finding the right path for a combined network effect for all of us, which is a multi-blockchain, that eventually serves the network effect for everyone, is important. We have some thinking about that and would love to work together with Impact Market to find the right path where GoodDollar and Impact Market work together to again eventually increase the value of UBI for everyone. And I've just been on your website this I think this week or last week, and I went through it. I think it's amazing what you've done, sort of focusing on local economies and donations. I'll say one thing which I think is important, because I think a lot of us are thinking about this when we're thinking about sort of UBI and global and local, what Andrew mentioned before as well, is we need to figure out not how to give fish to people, but how to build hooks, build boats. How do we create something that's scalable to the next billion people joining the blockchain? How do we create an ecosystem, which is what financial markets are today to the West, which is really building something that we'll all be proud. You, us, Proof of Humanity, everybody will say a billion people got onboarded into the blockchain. Doesn't matter which blockchain it is, maybe it's a multi-blockchain world, but we got a billion people onboarded into a financial system which is more fair, where wealth is distributed more equally and gives opportunity and chance for more people around the world.
I love Yoni's vision, and that is a fine way for us to close. You didn't hear million, you heard billion. There are there are several billion unbanked and underbanked. Marco, congratulations on tackling this problem with Impact Market. Hey, Yoni, I think he was talking to me about me in terms of inspiring him. I don't know why you were claiming that was you. Uh, so, thank you to Yoni and eToro. Go to gooddollar.org if you'd like to help. Also, Proof of Humanity, Impact Market, and lobby3.io if you'd like to help make a positive case for Web3 technologies here in the US that they should get treated as the anti poverty tool that they are and can be. Thank you, everyone, so much. Let's go make not just the metaverse, but the real world a better place. If the people here put our hearts and souls into it, I think that we can end poverty much, much faster than most people imagine possible. Thank you all so much. Yoni, special thank you to you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I really appreciate it, and thank you, everyone, joining and listening.
Bye, everyone. GoodDollar.org.
Thank you.